Hi, this video offers an introduction to philosophy. We want to know, what is philosophy? What is it about? Why does it exist? And how can it be studied? These and other questions are answered in the following minutes. The purpose of this video is to convey a basic understanding of philosophy. And by the way, if you want to learn not only philosophy but also German, you can find a lot of videos on this channel in which I talk in German about philosophical topics and works, with German and sometimes English subtitles. In these videos I try to speak clearly and slowly so that the German language can be learned by listening. This introduction is also available in German. A link can be found in the description below. Okay, let's get started. The term philosophy comes from ancient Greek and can be divided into philos, friend, or philia, love, and sophia, wisdom, friend of wisdom or love of wisdom. Wisdom can be defined as the right use of knowledge or as a capacity of judging rightly in matters relating to life and conduct. Some people do this as a hobby. Others practice philosophy as a science. Even if its status as a science is questioned sometimes, philosophy is a well-established subject at universities worldwide. And it existed as such from the very beginning, when in the course of history sciences were developed at all. But philosophy goes beyond the scope of most other subjects in that it does not have a specific topic that defines it. Rather, it is a certain way of looking at all kinds of topics, which allows the subject of philosophy to be grasped in its essence. It is a method of constantly examining and questioning. As such, philosophy requires further classification. The subject of philosophy can be divided into two areas and various disciplines. Theoretical philosophy deals with what is. It is about how things are in reality, in perception and beyond, and what we can experience at all. A central question is, what can I know? The goal is to get a better understanding of the world with all its phenomena. The term theory comes from the Greek word theoria. It means contemplation or reflection. Some disciplines of theoretical philosophy are, for example, epistemology, the theory of knowledge; philosophical anthropology, which is dealing with the human being; metaphysics, which examines the nature of reality; the philosophy of mind; and the philosophy of language. Practical philosophy deals with what should be. It is about human action and normative thoughts about it. Normative means dealing with or creating norms. Norms are rules for the coexistence of people. A central question here is, what should I do? Or what should we do? The purpose is to preserve the world with all its inhabitants in the best possible way, whatever that means. The term practical comes from the Greek word praxis. It means act or action. Some disciplines of practical philosophy are ethics, as the science of morality; the philosophy of law, in which ethics is applied; and political philosophy, that produces theories of the state. As you can see, practical philosophy is also pursued in theory. And yet it is clearly oriented towards practice, that is, towards action. There are, however, disciplines that cannot be properly classified in the two areas of theoretical and practical philosophy. These include, for example, logic or the history of philosophy. Now, with a subject like philosophy, in its diversity of topics, you might wonder, since hardly anyone is interested in everything, let alone has an overview of everything, for whom is philosophy as a branch of study suitable at all? Who might be interested in philosophy and why? Let's get to the bottom of the meaning and purpose of philosophy. Let no one hesitate to philosophize when young, nor tire of it when old. For no one is too young or too old for the health of the soul. That was Epicurus. Nice. But what is the health of the soul? What is the soul anyway? These are philosophical questions. Questions a child might ask until it realizes that the adults don't have any definite answers to it. Unless maybe the child grows up in a religious environment. If you are looking for answers, you might be better off with theology, the study of God. In philosophy, many questions have no definitive answers. As I said, philosophy is the love of wisdom, not of knowledge. Wisdom is an understanding that can also be expressed in a lack of knowledge. Remember Socrates, I know that I know nothing. If you take this to heart, you are on a philosophical path, even if you end up feeling more stupid than wise. So what's the point? Compared to everything there is to know, we humans know little. Even our knowledge about essentials is occasionally updated, especially in an era when humans are interfering with the gene pool or artificially creating intelligence. The more we can do, the more important is what we want, should and must do. These are all philosophical matters, so what you get out of dealing with philosophy can be a sophisticated examination of current issues, and thus the ability to keep up with current events. Philosophy plays an increasingly important role in the present and the future. Sure, many books are ancient and were read 1,000 times, but maybe you are one of the few people of your generation who read this and that and another book and gain a new insight from this rare combination, plus your personal experience of life. The next section is about where and how you can study philosophy, not only at universities. Imagine the subject of philosophy as a large table. Many people sit at it and talk in disarray. They use strange terms and names and almost speak a language of their own. All the time they refer to some ideas or writings to which the others just nod. Yes, I might disagree, but go ahead. You quickly notice that this group of people has not just been sitting around for hours. And you might be shocked when you realize this has been going on for thousands of years. What? You can listen for a while to what the philosophers are saying in your presence. But in order to really understand and be able to participate, it is important to read what has been said in the past. The random reading of this or that book is a way to acquire some knowledge of philosophy, but the much more systematic route is through studying philosophy. Let's look at 3 ways of doing so in a university, via distance learning and via self-study. You can study philosophy at numerous universities worldwide. After 6 semesters of standard study time, you might already have the degree Bachelor of Arts. And if you like, you can add at least 4 more semesters to aim for a master's degree. In most cases, a general university entrance qualification is required, and the knowledge of a second language, such as French for example, is helpful, but not a must-have. If by any chance you know ancient languages, you can enjoy the rare pleasure of reading ancient texts in the original. If so, the Grecum or Latinum, for which you studied so hard, was worth it after all. Depending on the institution, distance learning can be approached as full-time or as part-time study. At the University of Hagen, which is primarily focused on distance teaching and the largest university in Germany in terms of number of students enrolled, you encounter philosophy, for example, as a subject of cultural studies. Full-time corresponds to the 6 bachelor and 4 master semesters. Part-time students have twice as much time. You can also start part-time and, when your calendar allows it, book the full-time workload and thus shorten your study time again. With a degree in philosophy, by the way, you have career prospects in archives and libraries, in teaching and research, and journalism and publishing, for example. Of course, in our terribly superficial, achievement-oriented society, not everyone is looking for a degree. Especially philosophy is very well suited for self-study, on the side and just for your personal intellectual development. In any case, philosophy opens up a vast universe of thoughts that cannot be only helpful and instructive, but also quite fascinating. A lot of literature is available online, and many of the original philosophical texts even for free and in full length. The quantity of texts and topics can be daunting, but that's why we've got jumpstart tools, like YouTube videos, for example. Some channels about philosophy that I can recommend for the English-speaking world are Crash Course, The School of Life and Wireless Philosophy. Well, this concludes my brief introduction to philosophy. If it succeeded in awakening your love of wisdom and you want to start self-study right away, On this channel you can also find some videos about philosophical topics, but as I said, in German with subtitles. English is, as you probably heard, not my mother tongue. Feel free to point out all the big and small mistakes I made despite support of artificial intelligence in form of the DeepL translator. I want to improve myself. You can find a link to the script of this video in the description below. Thanks for listening and goodbye.